put a wedge or a doorstop in front of our partner's hip, so both of their knees can't come through. So notice what happens when you do your traditional leg weave pass. When I leg weave, here I create an angle. Guys, we can do this from knee cut. I can do this from the open position. Here, I can do this from like a forced half guard position. Okay? But as soon as we get to here like this, and I control my partner's hip, no matter what, yeah, I'm weaving through here, but no matter what, I'm not controlling his top leg. There's physically, I'm controlling my shoulders, controlling his hip, I'm putting pressure so his knee is going down towards the mat, but there's nothing blocking his hip or his knee from coming up. There's nothing that stops it. There's not a block in front, okay? So if we can place something in front of the hip, here like this, okay, and then walk, okay, keep your knees exactly where they are, and then look to walk around, he physically can't get both knees through that arm, all right? And like I said, there's different variations, there's different levels. The reason I'm not a fan of your traditional leg weave pass, if a guy has a good guard, there's a triangle there every single time. You put yourself in a one arm in, one arm out situation. So if we were here and Billy put me in a leg weave pass. So if we're here, and he weaves through, and he starts his pass, and if I can get my hips free, look what happens. I can rotate through, and then lock the triangle. So that's why at a high level, I'm not a fan of that. At a lower level, they're not going to know how to do that. Right? But with this one, which is it's way easier to do, and it's harder for the person to lift their hips up and follow you. Okay? So I'll show you what it looks like. So then let's do it from a knee cut position, because that's kind of what we did during the week. So here, I walk, I enter in, he puts his knee in front of my hip, he's pushing away. And we get right to north-south, okay? So the idea with this is, instead of weaving our arm through, so if we're going here like this, your traditional leg weave pass, okay, and he pushes me away, I would take this hand, my right hand, my top hand, behind his hamstring, and then I would hook, okay? This time, I'm just taking my arm, and I'm punching it over his leg, in front of his both legs, and then punching it down to the mat, like this. So that I'm making a frame here, in front of his hip, and in front of his legs. But then I have to anchor down on his upper body. So right now, we're doing the lower body. I'm controlling the lower body from this position, okay? Now, because we have the gi, I'm going to grab his collar. If it was no gi, I'd make a hook behind his head, okay? So we're here. He's probably going to be pushing into me, so I grab a hold of his collar. My head will go down. So, and this is important, we don't stop until we get our feet all the way over on that side, because our partner can still invert. Like, his hips are still relatively free. He just can't get his knees past my arm. So when I make my grip here, my head will go down to his chest, my hips will go up, okay? Once I get my hips up, I'm going to slide my knee down towards his knee to free my foot. Now the weight will go into my partner's chest and into the same hand that's punched down towards the mat. So I walk towards his head, I walk, and notice how I tripod up. Okay, look at his legs. His legs can't go through my arm. I continue to walk until I stop here. Once I stop, I let go of his collar, I reach over his head, my head will come off his chest, and I slide it all the way down towards his hips. So what's going to happen, a guy with a good guard, is they're going to try to get their knees to the inside. So once he tries to get his knees to the inside, look at my head. It's a block. My hand is in front of his arm. I start to sink my weight. We end up in north-south. So once I end up in north-south, shoulder stays low by his hip, hand down towards the mat, my chest on his chest, my hips in front of his shoulder, and my head is controlling that farther. So we're controlling across here in this line. Okay? Here. Okay, however I enter, I step, I get to a knee slice position. He slides that knee in front. He starts to off-balance me. Look, he starts to off-balance me here. I don't want to weave my hand through because I don't want to put myself in danger of those triangles. So I punch my hand right over, okay? Once I punch my hand over and down towards the mat, I'm reaching for his collar. If it's no gi, I'm making a hook. So I'm using a false grip, and I'm making a hook behind his head, and I'm pulling. Now, by pulling the person towards me, like I told you, we're going to get a reaction out of them. They're going to pull back. So they open up the space and they drag me with them. So this hand's anchored down. So when I pull in this direction here, he starts to pull back. Here. Head stays low, my hips are high. He tries to raise those knees up to the inside. I drop my head. I sink my weight. And get right to north side. Okay, and now look, let's do it from like a half guard position where he has his knee in front. Same exact thing. Punch my hand over, down towards the mat. Okay? I take my hand, it's either the collar or it's a hook. Okay? Like, I find that your best bet is not just getting the collar. The collar's good, but his head still moves. He can still really move his head back. So if we can get to here, this is good. If you can get your elbow draped over his head, this is even better. Because now when he starts to really lengthen out, I'm just here. Just sliding all the way. He can't get past his arm. And right to north side. Okay, so play with a couple of those. Knee slice, half guard, open position. Throw your hand over, punch it down towards the mat. Then play with the grips. Collar, collar tie, or drape your elbow over. Just with your collar tie, it has to be on top of your partner's head. Don't go underneath your head. So, let me show you. Don't do this. Because, I mean, this is strong. There's nothing wrong with this. But he has, see how he just instantly puts his hand to the inside, takes that off? Okay? When your hand's on top, he really has no option. He can't bring his head down. He can't lift his head up. So it just buys you more time when you're in this position like this. Okay? As opposed to being here, where he can just lift his head up and push that grip off. That's if you're going to do the collar tie. Okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Last one, and we'll do some training.